Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today we have Brandon.
Hello.
And we're here talking about games and things.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mostly games.
I think mostly things. I don't even know.
I mean,
is it
yeah,
games
that's true.
or is it things? Could be anything. It's a mystery. Well, let's see. So it's the first week of the new year, which means there's nothing to talk about.
That's true. That's true.
I
got a 4K monitor.
I
got one for really cheap.
Yeah. I mean, there's all those Christmas things. Like, I mean, obviously stuff we've been playing since, like, holidays or whatever's there. I keep forgetting that Fire Emblem's like 2 weeks away.
In like a few days? Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that. It's weird, though. I'm like...
So is Persona 3 and 4.
That's true, too. I think they come out the same week.
I'm very excited for Persona 3 now that I know that what we were talking about before was not correct, and I was confused. I love Persona 3. Persona 3 is my favorite game.
Well, we do have Persona to talk about in a couple
do.
different ways this week.
Yeah.
So we got that. All right. I guess let's start off with what we've been playing.
Yeah, let's start.
Yeah.
So I finished. I'm sorry.
Speaking of Persona, I finished Persona 5. Done.
Nice. Awesome. Thoughts?
So it's good. I don't, because you finished all of Royale, right?
Yes.
All of Royale. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that final chapter is that great. That's kind of where I don't think it's bad. I think it's like I feel like the core game was just so good that when you get to that extra chapter, I was like, oh, okay.
That's fair.
I know you missed some of that conversation last week when I was having it with Nick, but because what's her name's story, I really didn't care for.
I would say I actually agree with you. I think of the games that have had their extra chapters, extra elements added to them, which are Persona 4 Golden, Persona 3 FES, and now Persona 5 Royals, I think Royal is like one of the worst. That's just my opinion.
I do appreciate that it gives you the extra time to spend with those people. Like, I do think that's nice. But
you also have... Okay, so I guess I would appreciate it more if there wasn't a direct sequel to Persona 4 Royal.
Oh, you mean Strikers?
Yeah, Strikers is a direct sequel. So it's like, this doesn't have as much impact anymore because I know that,
Yeah.
Maybe at the time, but like, once you know Strikers is a thing that exists, it's like, oh, well, okay.
Did you play Strikers?
I have. I like Strikers a lot because of the fact that it's a Mushu game, and I love those games.
Okay. I mean, I was just kind of wondering. I mean, not that I would go and get it right away. Like, it definitely was something I'd be like, oh, I'd be interested. But I just thought it was interesting because I feel like this story just kind of like wrapped itself up. Even with the extra chapter, I feel like it wrapped itself up pretty nicely. And I was just like, well, where did Strikers come from all of a sudden?
Yeah, Strikers is definitely its own thing. It definitely is kind of a retreading, but not really. And then on top of that, it does have new characters that are kind of interesting. But it's like, it's very much tacked on. But it's tacked on enough where it's like, oh, I get to experience these people again. Cool. So,
but I guess from what I've read, though, it also doesn't solve one of the biggest mysteries of Persona 5 Royale's ending.
Oh, okay. All right, then. I guess I didn't expect something like that to be explained. You know the way I expected it to be explained originally? Not with Strikers, but with like a new fighting game. Because the fighting games they've had, the Persona games, are actually really good and do a good job tying up loose ends also, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, okay.
So I was kind of expecting something like that to do it, but yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. What was I going to say? But yeah,
I want a Persona 5 fighting game.
I mean, you got it. Smash Brothers.
No, no. I mean, like the Persona 3 and 4 one we got, which is really good.
I do just say I did like try out Joker and Smash after playing Persona 5, and I appreciate him as a playable character much more after that.
That's cool. That is cool.
I feel like that with a lot of the Smash characters. Like, some of them will be like, "What the fuck were they thinking with this?" And then you like play their game, and you're like, "Oh, I get it now. I get what they were doing." Honestly, like a pretty.
I can't remember. You played Did you play Dragon Quest? You did,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played the Dragon Quest. What was it, 11? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Did you
11
feel
was
the same
good.
way after playing that, basically, where you're like, oh, I get why this character's in Smash, or
Yeah.
you already knew why that character was going to be in Smash. I can't remember which
I don't
way it
remember
was.
which order
If you
it
played it
was. Was that?
before, or if you played it after Smash. I don't
I
remember
don't even
which.
remember. I could have even been mid playing it at that point too.
Yeah, honestly.
I remember I played the shit out of that game. I liked it a lot. Like, I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, it was not. I don't know. I feel like there's some other ones that was kind of like Banjo Kazooie. I kind of felt the same way too because I never really played them before.
Really, I love Banjo Kazooie. They're like some of my favorite collectathons. Like when you like, there are so many people that are like, and I know how you feel about this game. There are so many people that are like, man, Super Mario 64, great collectathon, one of the best, 3D platformers ever. And then there's other people, I believe these people are crazy, that say it's Donkey Kong 64 that's the best ever.
Yeah,
and
those people are nuts.
Yeah, those people are
horrific.
nuts. I know what you mean. I know, I agree with you. But the thing is, I always am like, did you never play Banjo Kazooie? Because like Banjo Kazooie is like one of the absolute best 3D platformers ever.
I would say
easily.
I don't remember if we ever talked about it in the podcast because I know it's come up from time to time. Like sometimes, like I don't always talk about everything I play every week because sometimes like I'll save things.
Yeah.
Like if I maybe if I don't get far enough during the course of the week before we record, or maybe it's just like I have a lot of things to talk about and I'm like, oh, I'll save this one till next week or whatever. So I don't remember if I ever talked about my time with Banjo Kazooie. I kind of think I did. I was not a fan, but it was better than Donkey Kong 64. I never finished it. I got how far did I get in it? I got a couple stages through it. I think some of it though was I was playing on the Xbox. I feel like I would have liked it better with the Nintendo 64 controller. I don't remember why I thought that, but I remember thinking that the Xbox controller didn't seem totally conducive for it.
I understand that, but I think that the Xbox version is a better experience because of the way it's like smoothed out, essentially.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure.
But yeah, because I own that on the Rare Replay, and Rare Replay is fucking excellent. So
yeah, that's what I tried to play it on. I was gonna try it again at some point on NSO because I have.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. Honestly.
Well, I mean, it's got all the upres graphics. It will look nicer.
Okay,
I got the N64 controller.
Maybe give it a go. Maybe give it a go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if you didn't like it, like, was it the controls or was it the game? That's what I'm curious about.
I'm not sure at this point. So I think it was a little column A and a little column B. I think I was frustrated with some of the game stuff, and some of it was because of the controls. So I remember I think the last level I got to was like an ice world. I think some of it too, though, also was that I found some of the stages just to be kind of not very intuitive to get around. I mean, it definitely was more of an N64 type build of the game. Like you can tell, it's like, hey, this is a first generation 3D platformer. Like, that's fine. And I can see what people like that because I'm sure people think the same way about Mario 64. But
I still feel that way about the Mario 64. It's just like I'll watch speedruns of it because they're really fun to watch.
Crazy, yeah.
But I cannot play that game. It's just so frustrating to play that game.
So I've gotten to a point with that one because I played it so much that it's like I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I know what stars that I want to go to very specifically, and I'll just mostly skip ones that I don't like because I already know which ones I don't like. So it's more of an enjoyable experience for me, which it's weird because a lot of times with those kind of games, like I always go in for like completion, like, oh, I got to get 120, but I'm never like that with Mario 64.
Yeah, because Mario 64 just kind of sucks if you go for 120.
Like some of them are just very frustrating, and
some of them are just fun. Like a waste of time too. It's just like okay.
And I hope maybe someday I'll get like that with Sunshine as well. Because Sunshine's another one that I always, whenever I pick it up, I'm always like, gotta get them all.
I like Sunshine though. I like Sunshine more. Yeah.
Because Sunshine forces you into all the different ones. Like Mario 64, you can basically pick and choose, like everything. If you don't want to do anything beyond the first star and bomb on Battlefield, like fuck off. You can go do whatever you want. But like Sunshine, you're like you have to do like what 8 stars in each, 8 specific stars in each one.
I just
And if
think
you
the
get,
world's misting in some sunshine.
yeah, no, I think it's some of it's interesting. I just kind of feel like I wish some of it was a bit more like just let you have a little bit more free choice to what you wanted to do. Like I don't mind getting like X amount of shines. I just wish it was like whichever ones I wanted to do. Like, hey, I really don't want to do the stupid manta ray cleaning thing this time or the casino.
Okay,
Can I
I
just
understand.
not do them and just do 2 extra ones in this other level? Because the tricky thing is that too, like, because I think you only need like those 8 stars and those 8 stages to get to the end. So anything extra beyond that's just literally you're doing it for fun, and it's not doesn't add anything to you getting closer to the goal.
I see.
Whereas like every star in like Mario 64 is like, hey, that's 1 less star I need to get to open this door. 1 less star I need to do this. Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I just thought the world was more interesting. So
No, it does. I mean, I
I'd
think
much
that
rather
whole because
play
it's got kind of
Sunshine.
that dynamic story where it's like, hey, you're arrested, then Peach is hanging out, then she gets kidnapped. There's a little Bowser Jr. mystery going
And
on.
like the hub world's fun too. Like it's
Yeah,
much more open and it feels like it's lived in because it's actually being lived in.
and it's definitely more fun to explore than the castle in some ways.
Yeah.
Because the
The
castle's just
castle's
very
kinda
linear.
yeah. You go to these places and we tell you can go to these places, essentially.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, that was quite a detour. Yeah, what was that? And I don't remember how we got there from Persona.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, what was I going to say? Oh, and I did have one other great mystery for Persona that the one thing I've just never been able to wrap my head around since like day one of this game. And now that it's over, I just really don't know. But like, why the fuck don't Joker's parents have anything to do with this game at all?
Well, okay, if I recall correctly, didn't they send him away because of his conduct where he beat the shit out of somebody, but somebody he beat the shit out of was, well, they deserved it, and that's why he was living with the person that was running the coffee shop?
Well, it's like, so the thing was, yeah, so he got put on probation for like committing a crime. And so
his crime was saving someone. Fuck off. That's not a crime.
But I mean, he was convicted of a crime. It does. I mean, I agree. Like he did not actually do anything wrong, but he was still
he didn't do anything wrong. But it was just the guy that he assaulted for good reason was a rich piece of shit. So he kind of was stuck. Yeah.
So I mean, he got convicted of a crime, and still got sent away.
One of my favorite like fucking tropes in anything is something like that. However, the story more than makes up for it later on. So
oh yeah, no, I mean that story all comes around. But I just think it's interesting that his parents are just like, goodbye. And like through the course of that year, like you never hear from him. Like you don't hear anything about him. And basically like Sojiro's like, I'll be your dad now because you got no one else. But it's like, why do you have no one else? Why do your parents not care about you? Like I just was like, that's always just been something that's wild to me. It's like, I guess I mean that sucks that your parents just don't care. And it's like, then why are you going back to them? Why are you leaving? Like I don't understand. So
yeah, that makes sense. I don't understand either. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah, live your life in Tokyo. Obviously, you're having a great time. You met some great people. So I don't know, but yeah, that was my other one. But yeah, I said otherwise, just really, really excellent game. I definitely had that feeling too, and I really had to like control myself because like as much as at the end of the game, I was just going through text as fast as fucking possible to end it. As soon as it was done, I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, well, what if I did New Game Plus and I did this and this and this? And I was like, no. I'm like, do not.
I'm just going to tell you this right now. I have a friend that's an actual psychopath. He played it 3 times, I think. Maybe 4 times even, to get all of the endings and all the extra stuff and all that stuff, essentially. Like, he 100%ed the game. And I was just like, why do you do this to yourself? And he's done it with all the Yakuza games also. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
I saw comments on Reddit where people were doing that. And they're like, how many hours did that take you? And they're like, oh, only 500. I'm like, no.
Yeah. I remember him being gone for a month to do that for Persona 5.
Yeah, that's just too much. And that's like I said, like as interested as I would be in jumping into one of the other Persona games after this,
like I think you should pick up the Yakuza game.
It's so much of a time commitment.
Do
I just
it.
don't have time for it right now.
Pick up a Yakuza game. Do it.
I'm just still so like I'm very Zero. Just very burnt out from it right now.
Yeah, but
like I need dumb things to play right now. Like dumb.
You could do dumb punchy boys. That's what Yakuza is.
It's also an RPG. No time commitment. Like if I play it for 5 minutes or for 3 hours.
You're looking for a mobile game then.
Or just like, just kind of like more like...
May I interest you in mobile game of the year, Marvel Snap? I've actually heard it's really good.
Honestly, things more like Splatoon where you can just kind of like jump in, jump out. There's that Splatfest coming up this weekend. I haven't even done anything with it yet. So
I was unaware.
It's sweet versus sour versus something. I don't remember what the other one was. Yeah, it's just not.
I'm guessing it's savory, right? Probably.
Well, maybe savory. I feel like that's a good guess. Everyone always talks about sweet or sour. That's all I remember.
That's normally like the third one I hear paired with those two, so that's why I was guessing.
They should have went with umami.
That would have been good.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that. I don't know if I had any other like major final thoughts for Persona 5. I think I've gotten all mine out over the last 2 or 3 weeks that we've been talking about it. But like I said, it was fun. I would recommend it. I liked it a lot. I mean, it definitely sold me on playing other ones. Like I'm sure I'll go back through and probably pick up 4 in the near future. But I think my thing is now, and we can kind of just kind of like slide into this part of the news-ish rumor things, is because they are rumoring Persona 3 to be a remake.
I don't want that
to be a remake. Yeah, and it's just like, well, why would I buy Persona 3 if there's a possibility of a remake at this point?
My recommendation would be get it on Game Pass. Play it on Game Pass. I wouldn't.
I mean, I don't have time to play Persona right now anyway.
If the rumor is... Yeah, I was looking at a full playthrough of Persona 3 while we were talking, right? Because I was looking at the PS2 version to like make sure I wasn't misremembering the differences, which I wasn't. I was like, oh, this video is like an hour and 15 minutes. No, it was a day and 15 hours. That's how long the video was for a full playthrough of the game. I didn't even realize
really. Because that'd be 39 hours?
This is from someone that's just playing like one like blind playthrough though. So like, and this is a PS2 game, which is something you also need to keep in mind. So like there's all the extra hidden shit and everything, and this one's just doing their first playthrough of it. So yeah. I do think, if I'm not mistaken, that Persona 3 is definitely much shorter than 5, and so is 4. I think you could finish 4 in probably a day or two, and I think you can finish 3 in a day. So
that seems more like up my alley. I think what I'm gonna do.
I mean, that's like non-stop play. That's something you need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
When I say a day, I mean like you're like getting that, like you said, that 39 hours straight worth. You know.
I figured that's what you meant. Like I didn't think it was gonna be like an 8-hour game.
No.
But yeah, I'd probably work my way backwards like 4, and then kind of hope that by the time I get done with 4, that like 3 is like remade. But like I said, it's not gonna happen anytime soon. Because at this point, like I just said, Fire Emblem's like 2 weeks away, so I'm not gonna jump into anything heavy with that on the horizon, anyways. So yeah, it's just kind of like that's that. It'll probably be my next like purchase, and just kind of go from there. So,
that's fair.
And I'm sure Fire Emblem will be good. I'm just not like
Fire Emblem right now is just like creeping up, but also I just like don't super care.
Yeah, I don't super care either. As I said, I'm sure it'll be interesting, but I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. See ya in 2 weeks. I saw like a little bit of a review. Not a review, like a preview. Like someone did, like I guess some of the previews and stuff started coming out, and I watched a couple minutes of it. And I'm like, oh, it's Fire Emblem, but it sounds like they cut a lot of like the social stuff out of it, so it doesn't have a lot of like the three houses kind of like school stuff. It sounds like it's more like just like here's some missions with some camp stuff in between.
That sounds like not Fire Emblem.
Well, it sounds like Game Boy Fire Emblem. It sounds like a step back from where they've been headed.
Yeah.
Is it bad, good? I don't know. I said, I'm just not really like.
Probably have to wait and see.
This game screams to me like Fire Emblem 30th anniversary or whatever it is. Because like, hey, here's all the old heroes are back, and we got people from every game in here, and it's like, okay, that's cool. Whatever. My amiibo will work, cool. Whatever. Yeah, so it's just kind of like, it is what it is. So we'll see. There's that. Then I don't even know. There's some other stuff coming out next month too. Is Octopath 2 next month?
I don't know, but I do know next month is a Yakuza game I've been wanting to play for 13 years, as well as a Atomic Heart, which I've been waiting 7 years to play.
Oh.
So, yeah, Yakuza Ishin is a game that released in a long time ago. A long time ago. Only in Japan. It did not release in America. And there's a remake of it for the PlayStation 5 and series systems. And that releases one day before my birthday. So that's going to be my gift. Because I'm super excited to play that. So yeah, there's that. So that's coming up. And then, like I said, Atomic Heart, which I don't know how much you've looked into that game, but that game's coming out in February. And then I think either February, March is also Stalker 2. So there's a lot to look forward to there, in my opinion.
Yeah. And
have you looked into Atomic Heart?
I know I've looked into it before. I don't remember what it is.
So it's Russian BioShock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's finally releasing.
Oh, the Tales of Symphonia remake is also next month.
Okay, then. So there you go.
Remaster. I don't want to give it too much credit because it's heard it's a shit remaster.
Yeah, it looks like a remaster from what I've seen.
Because it's like what, a remaster of the PS2 game instead of the GameCube game?
Instead of the GameCube one. So you're locked at 30 FPS. But that might be a blessing for Switch.
Switch can do games pretty well sometimes if they put the time into it. Persona 5,
See, that's
excellent.
The problem. That's the problem. If they put the time into it, a lot of people just aren't, and that's an issue.
Well, Brandon, it is a different video game market than the Xbox and the PlayStation, so I can see why.
I'm not expecting a 4K game, but I am, or something incredible running at 60 at all points in time. But I am expecting not Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, if ID can get Doom running smoothly on the Switch, which is which is honestly a technical masterpiece on its own, just making that function with that much of a downgrade, then anyone else can get their shit running. So pull yourselves together and get your shit running.
True.
And like I said, Persona 5, excellent. It runs incredibly well.
That's great, actually.
I don't even think I noticed anything I could consider like a graphical glitch, like a stutter. The game just absolutely runs incredibly smoothly. It looks beautiful. It plays beautifully. I think we talked about it before. It's like the compression, it's amazing that they got it down to, I think it was 14 gigs.
That is incredible.
Considering that there are other games like I said, BioShock Infinite was 20 gigs, and I'm like,
yeah.
Just the difference in scale of amount of voice acting and video there is just huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I will share one thought about Persona 5.
Yeah.
From the other end of things, they actually have that on Steam Deck also. It was verified Steam Deck. So which means it's the best of the best. It will run just out the box, and it runs at full highest settings, 60 FPS, and it runs incredible. So I think it's just the people that make Persona or at least Persona 5, care a lot about that game and actually having it look as good as humanly possible and play as well as humanly possible. So
which is how it should be. I mean, I think we talked about it before.
absolutely.
Just, like, you know, with Square Enix and like some of their ports, just like extreme laziness. It's like, why did Kingdom Hearts? Like when you have a game like this running so nicely on the Switch, it's like, why did you not bother to port Kingdom Hearts over and just do a cloud version? Like, just incredibly lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And for what it sounds like, Persona 5 has been selling incredibly well with the new systems in there. So I mean, obviously, it seems like whatever effort they put into porting it is paying off. So
definitely.
Yeah. So there's that. Anyways,
I can talk about a Switch game if you don't have anything else to talk about.
The only other thing I have is, I mean, you can talk about your game if you want. I have one more game.
No, go for it. No, go to it.
Oh, I finally played Jackbox Party Pack 9 with like proper people.
All right.
So I can actually talk about those games now.
Okay.
Because we had like a holiday party this week with some friends.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And bust out the Jackbox because it's always just a nice people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
We did. What are the ones that are on this one? Fibbage 4, which I mean, Fibbage is always a good time. But
I don't think you can go wrong playing Fibbage. Fibbage is just fun.
It is. I think my thing with it though is like, because I was thinking about it on the way home, like I was thinking about things I was going to talk about today, and Fibbage is one of those games where like I don't feel like there's a difference when you like with the incremental like Fibbage versions. Like I think that maybe 1 and 2, but after 2 is just kind of like Fibbage is Fibbage. And you kind of know what you're getting, and there's not really any surprises there, and it works well for what it is. But it is what it is. Fibbage is a lot of fun. I always have a good time with it. But I also think it's kind of one of those games that you can. How do I put this? You can almost play the game too well. Fibbage is a game like I've played at this point. I mean, what the first Fibbage came out probably close to 10 years ago. At this point, has to be. But it's one of those things, like, because they pick all those, like, obscure, like, trivia things. And I've just gotten to a point where it's like, you know that the answer is probably going to be something wild. So it's like, whoever picks whatever the wildest answer is on there is probably actually the correct answer.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because, like, a lot of people are not going to be like, they're not going to know what the real answer is. So they're going to try to think of something just that's logical to them, but the trivia that they pick has very illogical answers. So it's like we had one when we were playing this time. I guess to give you an example, I think this one will sum it up pretty well. And it was like it showed this clip from a movie, Lady Gangster. Okay. I think is what it was called. And then the thing was like the clue was like, well, why did Lady Gangster get caught by the police or whatever? And the answers were all like, this is like a black and white movie, and you would get things like because women can't drive, or because they just whatever, just like some stereotypical like things. And then, but the last answer was like because you didn't know the dog's name, and you're like, we didn't see a dog. Nobody else would just randomly put something like that. So like that has to be the right answer. You know?
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense in a really weird way.
Yeah, so it's like, but I feel like that's the same way with like all the Fibbage questions. It's like if you can find the answer that makes absolutely no sense, then that's the right answer, because everyone else is going to try to make a logical guess, whereas like the questions that they pick have an illogical answer. It's weird. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. But I just, like I said, Fibbage it feels like a game you can game, but the more you play Fibbage, the more you can game it. So I don't know, it's weird. Anyways, other games on there. I need to look up the names because I could describe them, but I'm like, I couldn't actually like tell you what their names are. Get out of my way. So you got Fibbage, Quick Sort. I actually ended up playing that one single player. I never played it like multiplayer. I didn't really like it. It was like it's a trivia game. You were sorting out like these falling boxes, and it's kind of like they give you like sort these things out from like oldest to newest, and then it will be like just always like different like events, or you're sorting things out, which with almost like Tetris like boxes. I'm always horrible at those things, that kind of trivia where you're trying to like sort things from like oldest to newest or whatever. and B, it just kind of just didn't really make sense. So it was not my favorite game. Jumptopia.
Okay.
So this one, you get these objects, and then it's kind of almost like it's kind of the same formula they use for like the Kung Fu T-shirt thing, but you're not drawing anything in this one.
Oh, okay.
But it gives you an object. Like one I got was like this kind of like creepy smiling clown, and then it'll be like name the object, and then it'll ask you for 2 facts about the object, and so then you put like what the objects are. Like mine was like this snake with these weird like bumps on it. So I called it like Sammy the STD snake or something. And then it was like his facts. It was like, oh, it's bumps or not. It's not like a just it's skin. It's like it's just bumps, whatever. So it's things like that. And then after you pick your facts and everyone kind of votes on what their favorite object is, and then it gets appraised. It gets like a money value, and then the winner is the person who ends up with the most money. So
okay.
We actually had a lot of fun with that one. I think that one's kind of one of those ones where it works better with a group that you're more familiar with, because you can kind of like play off like the in jokes or whatever. But it all depends on like who you have. Non-sensory is this one where it's like a board game I was just looking at, and I don't remember what the board game's called. So that's not a great comparison, but there is a board game that's like it. It is a popular board game, so people may know it. But basically what it does is it has you like trying to think like one of the things. So it gave us a drawing prompt, and it was like, draw this object on a scale of alligator to what's the other word? Vigilante. That's what it was. On a scale of alligator to vigilante, and it needs to score like a 2. So it was like alligator was 1, vigilante was 10, but I want you to draw whatever a picture that you imagine would be like a number 2 on that scale. So if you visualize it, it's more alligator than vigilante. So I had to draw like an alligator kind of looking thing, and then everyone votes like on a number for like what they think it relates to, and you try to get people to vote on the number that you're trying to draw.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sort of, but like only because of the way you explained it. Otherwise, I think that would be kind of more complicated one.
Yeah, it is. I can say that the people I was playing with, it took them a few rounds to kind of wrap their heads around it. But the kind of once you get it, like the last couple of rounds that we had were like a bit better, but the first ones were a bit rough because people were just, they would look at their things and they would just draw whatever, and then it didn't make any sense. So yeah, it was just kind of, it's interesting, but it's not necessarily the most straightforward for everyone.
Okay.
And then the last one is Roomerang, which is kind of like Big Brother, like the TV show, like where you kind of like have a bunch of housemates and then you got to vote people out. So like, yeah, so it's like have 4 people in the house or whatever, or how many people you're playing with. We were playing 4. And then it'll like ask you some prompts, and then at the end of the round, like whoever wins might get like safety or might get like an advantage in the vote, and then whoever loses gets voted out. But they get to come back. Like I got voted out, and so it changed my name from like Mike to like Meek, like Meke.
Okay.
And I'll be like, oh, there's a new person here. It's Meek. And we were all laughing. I got voted out again, and I was like Make. So it was kind of funny. We all had kind of fun with it. It's weird. It's very quirky. It's kind of one of those like, you know, a nice icebreaker one. It is kind of like, it did like the Mario Party kind of cheats bullshit too, where it was like, what did it do? Like I got like one of my things for winning one of the rounds was pick another player to switch points with, and I had a very good feeling I knew who had the most points in the round, and they did. They had a significantly higher amount of points than any of us.
Okay.
So I switched points with them, and it gave me the game. Like I went from losing to winning so much that there was no way that anyone could catch up to me. Yes, and that kind of sucks. Like I feel like that's kind of like the worst kind of Mario Party kind of thing,
Yeah,
where it's like
definitely.
you're winning and then just kind of someone just steals it out from you and there's no chance of coming back from it, and you're just totally, you did nothing wrong and you went from first place to last place. So that would be my only complaint with it. It was funny. Like, we'd have a good time with it, but yeah, there's that. So that's all at Jackbox Party Pack 9. I will say though, the game that we ended up going back to the most was Trivia Murder Party. Which is not in this Jackbox. Like we played Trivia Murder Party, then we played a couple of these games, and then they wanted to go back to Trivia Murder Party. But I feel like I'm gonna toot my own horn on this, because usually that game, and I know you played Trivia Murder Party.
Yeah.
Like usually the trivia is just so like absurd in that game that nobody has an advantage. Like I feel like every time I played it, it's been pretty equal. I don't know what happened this last time, but I slaughtered them.
Oh,
like
damn.
Everyone. Like we played somewhere between 10 and 20 matches of Trivia Murder Party, and I won all but one of them.
That's crazy.
And some of them I would come back, like I'd be the first person out, and then I would play as a ghost, and then
you'd still win.
Yeah. Or my favorite like thing is, because I don't know if you know this, because it doesn't happen that often, but if you played it enough, I'm sure you've seen it. Like, so if everyone dies in Trivia Murder Party before you get to the final round, they bring back the person with the highest score.
Okay.
And I had it happen on 2 occasions where, like, I would be dead, and then we get down to like the last 2 people in like the murder room like challenge thing, and then the game that would come up would be something I could like absolutely wreck them on, like just destroy them. Like dictation. I'm really good at dictation when it comes up. Like I could type that stuff really fast. So like dictation would come up. I would like dictate like crazy, win, which kills both of them, and then it puts me back in the game for the final round with an advantage. And I was like, oh, this is like pretty brutal. So yeah, I love that game though. It is fun. I was just surprised it was just, like I said, every other time I've played it, like the trivia has just been so out there that it's very fair to everyone. And this time it was just not. But the people I was playing with were getting they got into that kind of like that gambling like cycle where they just didn't want to lose, and so they just kept on being like, "This time's gonna be their time to win,"
and they lost. Yep.
And they go right back into it, like, "No, we got to do it again." So yeah, that's it. Jackbox Party Pack. Always fun. 9, not my favorite. I think it's better than 8, though. I think it's better than 8.
Okay.
I think the tricky thing with it is, though, like, Fibbage 4 on its own is not enough to, like, hold up this party pack. So that's what I think I'd say. Like, Fibbage is fun. Like I said, it is always fun. But there's just not much incremental. Like, if you were to choose between Fibbage 4 and 3, like, to me, it doesn't matter. Like,
Okay.
Or even Fibbage 2, unless you really want to play the Fibbage Enough About You, which really doesn't. I've not ever had an enjoyable time with that. So, like, whatever. So, I don't know. That's all I got.
Okay.
That's all I got. Unless you have any questions on the Jackbox stuff.
No, not really.
Yeah. Well, what you been playing?
All right. So, there's a game I've been looking at for a long while on Switch. And it was finally on sale.
Yeah.
Finally picked it up. It's a definite me game because it's based off an arcade title, so it's not something you probably ever heard of. But I think me and Nick have talked about it before. It is called Groove Coaster YY Party.
Groove Coaster sounds familiar.
I
don't know about the YY Party.
It's a Steam specific, not Steam. It's a Switch specific version.
Oh, okay.
So there's that. This takes just like a lot, and I mean a lot of DLC, but everything was on sale for the game. So I got like the DLC pack I wanted and the game for $45.
Nice.
Normally it's just $60 for the game itself, and it doesn't really come with that much songs. So there's that. This has a lot of my like favorite kind of stuff. So it's got like VTuber music, it's got anime music, it's got video game music, it's got like its own special music that's made specifically for the game. It has a lot of songs that sound like they're from DDR or DJ, like DJ Max, that sort of thing. We got a lot of collab music, that essentially. And I I pretty much have played that since I purchased it. It is so much fun. So if you've never played Groove Coaster, or at least never played it on console, I'll give you a little rundown of how it works. So the Y, X, A, B buttons kind of act as your up, down, left, right, and then your actual D-pad or sticks, like control sticks, also act as up, down, left, right, that sort of deal. You're going to have these buttons that come in, and like some of the buttons you can hit with any button. So like it'll just be like a circle, and you can hit like one button. So like you can hit A, and that's you playing that. But then sometimes they'll have two arrows facing opposite directions, and like one's facing up and one's facing right. So you have to press like on the D-pad left, up, and on the A, B, X, Y button, like the A button, because it corresponds to right. And you have to essentially do that and find a way to like alternate between all the different buttons and kind of get in like a what's the word I'm looking for. It's like a pattern sort of, where it's like eventually you'll be like alternating with mashing buttons on different sides of the controller in order to the beat of the song, and it's just really fun. And the actual like aesthetics of the game are really cool because each song has its own essentially like roller coaster, where you have a little character that moves on a predetermined path, but on the path, while it's moving on that path, you see the like notes come down, and the notes are like they're styled after different things. So for instance, there's like a song that's based off of Space Invaders, and like you'll press the notes, and when you're pressing the notes, it'll like fire like the gun. You can hear it, and you'll see like the explosion pop up above you if you've like hit the note on the right timing and that sort of thing. And then on top of all of that, there's this thing called ad lib, where if you've gotten into the groove, you see, because it's the title of the game, of the actual coaster, and you've like been following the patterns long enough, there'll sometimes be little spots where there aren't notes. But if you still play the notes, it counts as an ad lib, and you have more points added to you for ad libbing the song. And you're able to get like a higher score by doing something like that. But there's no actual notes that you could see. It's just something you kind of have to feel after you get into the groove of the song and understand essentially what the pattern is, and you've been playing it for a bit. And like this game's just a really fun high score game with a lot of really, really solid tracks on it that are really fun to play. And it just kind of one of those things where you like get into the vibe of the game, and you just kind of like forget what you're doing essentially. And I played a lot of that, as well as I cleaned up a lot of Vampire Survivors. I think I am only lacking like 15 achievements now. I'm so close to 100%ing the game again. So there's that as well. And I mean, between those two, that's pretty much all I've been playing, and they've been a lot of fun to do so.
Okay, nice. Yeah. I guess the other things we could talk about, there probably won't be too much to talk about. We talked about Persona, possible rumor remake.
Yeah.
So there was that. There was so apparently there's a rumor that they're going to be remastering Skylanders.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to do it with the figurines again, or are they just going to do the game itself? Because I think there's actually a lot of potential to remaster the games without selling the toys to life.
And that's what it said. That's what
it said. Okay.
At least it said that they would not be required. I mean, I think it would be cool if they made it so that you could use them if you had them.
You can make them like amiibos, where it doesn't really do a whole lot, because Skylanders initially were like required to play the game. You couldn't even finish the game sometimes if you didn't have the right figurines.
Yeah, there's certain things that you could not do at all if you did not have like certain types of figurines. From what the rumor said, it was going to be a remastered version. I think it was like 3 of the games included, and they weren't like the Skylanders were not required to like play it. Everything was like unlockable inside the game. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That would be not bad at all, actually. So I thought that was a nice possible rumor. There was another rumor that I had just seen, and I'm trying to remember what it was because I already forgot. What was that? Oh, Shenmue. I don't really care about Shenmue.
Oh, is it the new box set? from limited run?
It was just that there was a new publisher for it potentially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that was the big one. I did see. Oh, there is I guess they're saying F-Zero will come this year. There was another
I'm
leaker that
sure it will.
that made some hint that Metroid Prime news is coming soon, potentially. They're also vague, and I'm just also sick of those things. I was like, whatever. There was a possible leak of Tears of the Kingdom Switch, which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that's not file that in not surprising category.
Wait, Tears of the Kingdom.
The Breath of the Wild 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha. Forgot that was the tagline.
Yeah, it's Tears, right?
You saw what Nintendo did, right? To Did You Know Gaming?
I saw they. Well, I didn't read like what they did. I saw they DMCA'd the one story about the Zelda thing, and then Did You Know Gaming managed to get it reversed. That's all I'd seen. I didn't see if there's anything specific or
yeah.
That's good for them. So
yeah, fuck Nintendo.
But I guess they are re-releasing the Zelda amiibo for the new Zelda game.
Okay.
Which isn't terribly surprising, but those are always nice because I guess a lot of them are hard to get. Kind of like a lot of the Fire Emblem amiibo are being reprinted for the Fire Emblem game coming out this month. But a lot of ones that you haven't been able to see in a while, like some of the Corins, like that were originally they were like store exclusives for Smash, like the Player 2 amiibo, like those like alternative costumes for Bayonetta, Cloud, and Corinne were pretty difficult to find. And I believe you can at least get the Corinne, both versions of it coming out now. So that's pretty nice. I think I'm just scrounging at news now. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Do you have anything else news-wise?
No, I ain't got nothing.
Okay. Did you want to do some Game of the Year preview?
Yeah, we could talk a little bit about it. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. How are you thinking going about this?
So essentially, we have some categories here and everything, but we have some things that we haven't really talked about or whatever, just in general. And I don't know. I was just thinking of games that I have played or you have played that you think would be a good fit for these categories. We don't have to say what the categories are, but we could just talk about the games in general that you've enjoyed this year, essentially. Kind of like a wrap up without saying what's going to be in what category or anything like that. Also to give ourselves some idea of things that we could put in, essentially, whenever we do fill out the rest of these categories.
Okay.
Because, I know you haven't played God of War, and that's a damn shame, because the game's incredible. And no one's played things like, oh, goodness, why can't I even remember the fucking name of it? Hold on. I have it installed on my Steam Deck, so I can find it. Neon White. No one's played Neon White, except me. And, that game is fucking incredible. And there's just been a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about, but I haven't gotten around to talking about. And I'm sure you have the same thing, kind of like how we were talking about earlier, where sometimes you play games, but you don't really talk about them. I don't know. That was my main idea. I don't really know if it works or whatever, but I was just trying to think of something.
Maybe we can talk about some titles. I'm not sitting on any surprises for Game of the Year. I will say that. Everything that I would talk about, I have talked about on the show. So it's not like that one year that Xenoblade 2 came out and I nominated for a shit ton of categories, then just kind of blindsided it off my list.
I do. I do remember that.
Yeah, just because it didn't meet my personal requirements or my Game of the Year list. But yeah, so I don't have anything like that. Everything I've played this year is gonna be on there. I mean, I would say games that I feel like I would probably talk a bit about personally.
Yeah.
In just different categories, because I think I already put it down a couple times. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I know has some good legs to stand on for some different categories. I feel like it was honestly criminally underlooked this year.
Yeah, I think so too. But if you look at this year, there's just so much stuff there.
Yeah, there was this. I mean, this was a good year. And it just kind of I don't even know. It may have been partly a victim of getting its release date pushed up because maybe it didn't have enough of like that, build up cycle that it would have had it had those extra 2 months. I mean, it was a great summer game. Summer's always a tough time to release stuff too, because I mean, I think technically this game kind of falls into like, well, I guess it wouldn't technically be the first half of the year, so it came out at the end of July, but still early enough that it's like out of sight, out of mind for Game of the Year. Discussions from a lot of places, and RPGs I feel like are always sometimes like a tough sell for some outlets for Game of the Year. But I think that game definitely will have some legs, like for stuff that we're talking about for Game of the Year. There. Did you actually play that game now?
Protocol?
Yeah.
And the ones I'm writing in? Absolutely not. I'm watching other people play it has been enough to already have... Oh, wait, I wrote Biggest Surprise. Shit, this is supposed to be in Biggest Disappointment. I'm so sorry. Excuse me, let me get these out of here. These are not what I meant. I was on the wrong line. Sorry. I wrote that incorrectly.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I'm
nope. Yeah, I don't. That was absolutely a mistake. No, I've got some for Biggest Disappointments easily. Because even though I went to bat for some things initially, over time it was just obvious that I was wrong. So, like for instance, Overwatch 2 is just no. I still don't think it is just Overwatch 1 with a 2 next to it. I don't. I do think it's better, but I do think it's like awful at the same time because it's just like yeah. It was a whole bunch of nothing. I did play Crossfire X, so I will talk about that at some point. Actually, I really think Crossfire X needs to just win Biggest Disappointment, period. It was probably the worst game I played all year. So there's that. Like, I at least got enjoyment out of Scarlet and Violet, but Crossfire X, which is essentially, I want to say either Chinese or Korean, like, combination of CSGO and Call of Duty. And honestly, it hadn't been over in the West, so I was kind of interested in playing it because I've like seen clips from the original game, and I thought it looked really cool. And like, it's definitely one of those games where it's like, oh, they play it for several hours inside of like one of those internet cafes sort of deals. And I got to sit down and play it, and it was just fucking awful. There's like nothing I could say that was redeeming about it. So,
oh, lovely.
Yeah, it was just really bad. It didn't work half the time. The maps were way too small, and then the ones that weren't way too small were way too big. And then just the special like abilities that some characters would have, you could actually buy those characters, and those abilities were just super fucking overpowered. And then it was just like essentially buying power. Which, speaking of buying power, Gundam Evolution, fuck that game. Just fuck that game. Like, I am done. I'm not going back. It'll take a massive improvement and some kind of major change for me to go back to it. That game is dead to me. That's whatever. It was good, and then it was really bad. And I was also really happy because we had a Gundam game come out in the year 2022, but just too greedy, too shitty, just fucking garbage. It's just simple as that. It's fucking Saints Row reboot, garbage, absolute trash. This one I did not purchase because, again, I was not going to subject myself to this. Not really worth the time, essentially. They took everything that made Saints Row out of Saints Row and made it a very generic GTA knockoff without any of the original charm, and it's just not good. It's not good at all. I don't know. Is there anything you want to particularly talk about? I do have like one big surprise. I haven't finished the game, but it's also kind of long. But I actually think Gotham Knights is really good. Like, really good.
Well, I know you talked a little bit about it last week.
Yeah. I can actually give a little bit more information on that. So the whole point of Gotham Knights is you're taking up the mantle of Batman because he's actually been murdered. Like, you attend his funeral at the beginning of the game and everything. And then you are one of his like proteges. And because I really like Batman comics. Like, I really, really like Batman comics. I kind of know the backstories of all of these characters, so it kind of makes it have more of like a staying power sort of deal to me. Also, you go into a lot of stuff with like side characters and villains that aren't really experienced in the Batman world as much, or if they have been, they have like one notable moment, and then all the other moments are just kind of meh, whatever. So like you're not like dealing with the Joker, you're dealing with like Penguin and Mr. Freeze and that sort of deal. And the way that I mean, I haven't dealt with the Joker yet. I've dealt with Harley, but Harley's, well, she's just Harley, so it's like whatever. But like for instance, I met with Cobblepot at one point. You know, I came in there, broke into his like nightclub, and it was super cool doing that. And when we got there, he kind of pointed out how like we're technically assaulting a model citizen because we have no proof of him doing anything wrong. So then we're supposed to go and look for the proof, and the like detective elements and the like going out into the open world with like with like a friend and hunting down enemies to fight and then interrogate to get more of the story unlocked, and like just running around and actually doing like patrols during the nighttime and then unlocking more story by doing that. I think it feels a lot like what I wanted the Avengers to feel like. And even though it's built like a live service game, there is no live service element to it. So like there is no buy these loot boxes or do this thing or buy this skin that's an extravagant amount of money. You like earn all of that stuff just by playing the game. And to see how like much people gave this game shit and then actually sit down and play it myself, it's not an Arkham game, obviously, and those are incredible games. So like those are like the pillar of superhero games. So this is definitely a step down, but I don't think it's bad. I just think it's a very good game that gets a lot of flack, but I think it does a lot of things right because I really like the elements of just being able to earn items and earn new costumes for each one of my characters and this, that, and the other. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So, yeah. Also, Gran Turismo 7 is really good as well. Another game which also got a lot of flack, but it got a lot of flack because of its monetization and them patching some shitty monetization in after reviews were done, which is also always a garbage fucking thing to do. But this game, man, this game looks so good. It sounds so good. It plays so good. And it has like a lot of little social elements to it that similar to like what the Forza games do. And I think it actually works because it's definitely made for like people that are like big car freaks that love cars, that love like makes and models and getting all into the nitty gritty. And they give you like little history things whenever you're doing like a mission. So you might do like a mission that's like, oh, European sports cars. And they'll teach you about like when they first started getting made and like who the first manufacturers were and that sort of thing. And you'll go into a coffee shop and you'll have like this booklet where this guy tells you about it, and then you'll get like a little cutscene that's like showing actual like footage of old cars being made and talking about how this stuff is. It's really neat. It's really cool in a sense. And I thought it was a very interesting take on just a racing game in general. Yeah, like I said before. Huh?
I know you like that one quite a bit.
Yeah, that one's really fun. Like I was very surprised by just how fun Gran Turismo was. Like it's kind of, if it wasn't for the monetization and like the way that you unlock cars and this, that, and the other, I think it would be a really, really solid racing game overall. But I think what is there is just very good and kind of misunderstood because of the fact that it did some shit stuff, then it stopped doing some shit stuff, then it did again, and then it just became a better game. And that's where we're at right now. So, yeah. Yeah, I guess other than stuff like that, I just wanted to like drop some of those things in there. I know there's also like best soundtrack in here, and I've got a lot of things for that one. And I mean, technically, I'm guessing you could put Persona 5 in this, couldn't you? Because it released on Switch this year, and I'm pretty sure you will put that in here, huh?
I won't throw it on that list.
You will?
I won't.
You won't. Okay.
It's
so we're not going to count things that were like releases this year on different systems, that sort of thing.
See, I think my thing with that, like, so there's, I don't know, how do I put this? Like, the way we do we mentioned it before, the way we do our rules, like, it's totally acceptable for us to put stuff in that's released new in some way, shape, or form on some systems. But I feel like putting it in for best soundtrack is kind of cheating.
No, I do agree. I do agree.
Especially with this one, too, because it's like, we could have... I mean, I didn't look back through her history. I know it's been nominated for best soundtrack before. I know that. I don't remember if it won before. I just remember it was in there before. But the tricky thing is, like, realistically, the music, this could be, like, depending on how we split hairs, like the fourth time that this music could have been nominated, depending on how we split things.
Yeah.
It's like, because it could have gone up with, say, the original Persona 5. It could have gone up with Royale. We could have gotten nominated for Smash. And, then you could be this release. I feel like putting it in there, as much as I enjoyed the music of it, I feel like would be just very disingenuous to this category. So, if there's some games, like, depending on when it released and what they do with it, I would maybe try to squeeze it through. But in this case, this isn't one of those. Like, I think with, say, like when they did the Xenoblade remake, I think I renominated Xenoblade Chronicles for best soundtrack.
I can't make the dot appear.
Oh, just go to the line above it and then hit enter, and then go to the next one.
Wait, what?
That's usually how I do it. Which line are you on?
Best soundtrack. I was trying to think of things to put in here. I know things to put in there, which is what I was about to start talking about. But like when I hit enter, it does nothing. See? Oh, wait. See nothing. No dot.
Here, I'll cheat. I'll do this. There you go.
Hey, there we go. Thank you. So yeah, go on.
But what was I saying? Like with Xenoblade Chronicles, like that one I put back up there, even though it could have been nominated before, because A, they remastered the soundtrack, and B, they added new songs to it. And with Persona, like I don't think it actually even did either of those things. It's literally just the same as it was before. So, listen, great soundtrack, but just for me, I feel like I'd rather highlight stuff that's like new this year, like new, than try to squeeze it in under a technicality. So
no, understandable. I was just curious because, like I talked to you about during the Steam Game of the Year thing, they nominated that and it didn't win. Like, what the fuck?
Like in our mind, let's just think that that's the reason. Maybe.
What?
So in our mind, let's just imagine that.
No, that doesn't work because Final Fantasy VII Remake won. And it released in 2019, 2020. So no, that's not how that works. And I don't even think I think Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is the worst soundtrack on the list they have there. So
well, people just love their Sephiroth and their Cloud.
No, I really do think they just looked at it and they're like, Sonic? Whatever. Metal Hellsinger? What's that shit? Persona 5, that's anime garbage. Hatsune Miku, that's really anime garbage. Final Fantasy, that's one I've heard of. Click. I think that's literally all that happened. Since anyone can vote for it. That's like, I think that's essentially what happened with that list. But and it sucks because, like, dude, everything on this list that isn't Final Fantasy is a fucking banger. Although the Hatsune Miku game being nominated, I think that's cheating because that's just a game based off of a literal musical artist that's made out of AI. So that one's not really fair.
Did they even end up coming out last year?
What's that?
Last year? The new Theatrhythm?
That's like in a few weeks.
Oh, okay. I can't remember. Yeah. Mine's a blur. I just remember it being like just kind of crossed.
Well, no, you heard how I just like paused and went in a few weeks because you just reminded me, and I'm like, what? Now I actually want to look that up. Final.
Yeah, I mean, actually, best soundtrack might be something I would throw, say, like Bayonetta 3 in. I did enjoy.
Yeah. That's definitely a good one.
Bayonetta 3 always does have good music. And actually another one I'd probably put in there too, which I feel like it's another it's a game that I feel like will come up a bunch on Game of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really going to take home a lot of stuff. I would put Pokemon Violet and Scarlet up for best soundtrack.
12/16 on the Switch and PS4. I mean 2/16.
So it just came out then.
No, 2/16. I was reading it. 2/16. So 2023.
Okay. So yeah,
I wish it was 12/16. I would already own it.
Yeah, no, that's why I was kind of surprised. I figured you would have gotten it if it was already out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of why I was like, I would have been surprised if it came out and you didn't talk about it.
Yeah, no, I love that game.
Damn
it, there's too many good songs. I mean, good soundtracks this year.
Bayonetta 3 is one of those games though where I know I talked about a lot of its shortcomings in terms of it being a game, but it did have some good music. I was very happy with that. And actually, they just remind me like just random news that I forgot about. So you remember Wonderful 101?
Yes.
And remember how it had its Kickstarter, what, like 2-3 years ago at this point?
Yes.
I don't even remember anymore. Well, they still haven't finished their backer rewards yet. I just got a message from them the other day where they're sending out another backer rewards update. They're like, hey guys, if you're still waiting on these things, this is where they are right now. Like, I'm like, how have you not gotten these things out yet? It's been like 2 years. Like, and it's like the physical items where it's like the shirts and like I think it was like jackets or something. They're getting out. There's like a whole list. Like it was a very lengthy email of like updates to things that haven't gotten sent out yet. So I was surprised about that. But they also gave an update because the game is supposed to have new gameplay, like those Luca missions that they're just to add for their stretch goals. And they finally gave an update of those, and they showed off like a 15-second clip of it. Like, hey, we're working on it. Like, oh, okay. Are these systems even going to be relevant anymore by the time this comes out? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, you're not making a whole new game. You promised 2 levels, and yeah. So, and also other thing too. As much as I'm excited for that new Bayonetta spin-off game, Cereza and the Blind Forest or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I gave $60.
What?
Yeah. I saw it was up for pre-order the other day, and I was like, "Oh, let me do this." And then I was like 60, and I was like, "Let me wait." I'm like, "I'm not doing it for $60."
That's so stupid.
Sight unseen. Yeah, like that game had better be like packed to the gills if they want $60 for it, because that is something I'm not jumping in on. Is it a cool concept? Sure. Does it look interesting? Yes. Does it seem like it's a $60 game? No.
No, it doesn't look like a $60 game.
Like, even what I played screams $20 to $30 indie game. Maybe 40 if you really want to push it. But 60, that's a really tough sell. Listen, I'll wait for the reviews and see. And because if they're like, oh my god, this game will just blow your mind with how much there is to do.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, then, maybe I'll jump in on that. But I just, especially, coming off of Bayonetta 3 and like just how all over the place that was, I just have a very hard time seeing this being like a reasonable $60 game. But I'll wait and see. I'm not gonna rate it off yet. So yeah. Oh, Shredder's Revenge, good choice. That's also good.
Yeah,
that one,
very
actually
good.
That one I know we talked about earlier in the year. They had great music.
Oh yeah, incredible music.
What other ones I know we're going to talk about? Pokemon Legends Arceus. I know that we'll get a bunch of.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about putting that for artistic approach because I like the kind of watercolor, like pastel look that it had going for it sometimes. Yeah. It was neat. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to put for artistic approach, to be completely honest. And like new series entry, it's like I don't know what really to put there either. Like I probably God of War, but like other than that, it's like
God of War definitely should be in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to spell it.
I don't either. That's the way I spell it though. Also, so we'll figure it out. I know there's a little fucking like lambda or some like 2 dots over the R. I don't fucking know how to do that. So
maybe.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no clue. Yeah, I mean, you will notice I purposely did not put Bayonetta 3 for that category. I feel
For
like best new
best new
entries.
series entry.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Then maybe I should put TMNT Shredder's Revenge in here because that shit's good.
That would be a good one for that category.
Oh God, I can't write.
I did see they added online multiplayer to the Cowabunga collection too.
That's awesome because like Shredder's Revenge online multiplayer was sick. It was so much fun. I played the entire game all the way through in online multiplayer on a stream with my friend, and then afterwards he's like, "Hey, you just want to go like 100% this game?" And then we played it for like 10 more hours. Played through it 3 more times.
Oh, nice.
It was so fun. It was so good. So yeah. Actually, there's one game I wanted to talk about. I haven't really got around to talking about it, and I don't know where I could put it in here at all. And but I didn't really talk about it enough. I did like the artistic approach, but I also like most of the stuff in here. It just wouldn't work for these categories. But the game was called Nobody Saves the World. And I may have like offhandedly mentioned it, but I ended up putting about 30 hours into that game, and we 100%ed it.
Would it be like a best surprise? I think you did talk about that game.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I learned something else about it after we 100%ed it and after we streamed it for a really long time.
Yeah.
So when we started out streaming, I want to say 2014, 2016, somewhere in there, I met this one indie dev that made this really cool speedrunning game called Bleed. And he made a sequel called Bleed 2. We became friends with them. They're really chill. We still talk to them every now and again. Hadn't heard from them in a while. Didn't know what they were doing. Turns out they made Nobody Saves the World.
Oh, random.
Yeah, so we didn't even know that we were playing a game made by a friend of ours. But it was great. It was a lot of fun. I kind of wanted to put it in best story just because the story is actually really good, but it's good in like a very super goofy way, similar to something like how, I don't know, like the South Park RPG, where it's like it's fun. It's just a fun story. Like there's a story there, and it's enjoyable, and it's funny, and it's entertaining the whole way through. But there's nothing that's like, you know, substantial or like hard hitting about it. But it's just fun, and you know what? I think I'll put it under best surprise, to be honest. It's a very, very good game. I highly recommend checking it out. It is an indie title, and it's very funny. It's got a lot of content, and it's good action RPG kind of game. So yeah, definitely worth a playthrough. Dude, Metal Hellsinger is so fucking good. I wish any of you guys liked metal music so I could be like, please listen to this game's music. It's so good. I'm still gonna have you guys listen to a track from it. I don't know which one yet because every single song is good. Because I've explained how that game works, right?
I'm sure you have. I could not explain it to you back.
Okay, like I explained like what made it special though. That's what I'm wondering. I explained that part, right?
I'm pretty sure. I know you talked about it and you showed us things for it before. And it'd probably be one of those things like once I look at the video, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember it. I just don't remember off the top of my head right now.
So it's a score-based rhythm game where like your score depends on how well you fight to the beat of the music and everything. But like that's not the important part. The important part is they brought a ton, and I mean a metric fuck ton, of artists out of retirement to make music for their game. Like real legitimate artists. So you've got people from System of a Down, you've got people from Lamb of God, from Arch Enemy, from Dark Tranquillity. You've got Trivium. You've got all these people that haven't made an album or like haven't made like an old school album in like 5-10 years. And they made music specifically for this game. So every song that is in this game is specifically designed for the stage that you are playing. And that's what makes it such an interesting game. Because like it's not a case where they just took a bunch of popular artists and they were like, all right, throw their music in there that's already been developed. They looked at the game, the artist worked with them, and they designed every song around the game. They designed the game around each individual song that's made based on levels and whatnot. And it's really fucking good. Really fucking good because of that. And then on top of that, the other thing that made it so special was the fact that DMCA when streaming is a big issue. Copyright claims, that sort of thing from streaming music. And they worked with every individual artist in this game to make it so there will never be a copyright claim or DMCA on you for making videos of this game.
I do remember you saying that, and that is pretty cool.
And that is incredible because that's like unheard of in modern day.
Yeah, because even just fractions of songs can get you.
Like 30 seconds can get you completely just taken out. That's it. You lost all of your money that you could have made from that stream or that video or whatever. But like you're encouraged to do videos and stuff on these games. It's super cool. And
I feel like that really needs it.
Huh?
Absolutely. A game like that needs it.
Absolutely. And then like you've got a bunch of people that are making the music that are like well known in the like industry. So yeah, that really makes it even better, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And like this comment is essentially how I feel. It's like, this is the best metal album of 2022. Oh yeah, it also comes with a free game. And that is kind of the thing. Like the music is front and center. The game is also like a shit ton of fun to play, but like they're definitely focusing very heavily on the music. So yeah, and then Neon White's really fucking good too. Which is a card-based speed-running first-person shooter, which none of those words make any sense when I say them out loud.
Yeah, I know that one looked really cool the couple times you showed us.
It's great. It's lots of fun. And the music for that one is also incredible. So.
Let's see. Looking at my list, see if there's anything else I'd really be like, oh my goodness. Should I throw Kirby in the Forgotten Land on anything? That should be.
I do not see it here anywhere. Maybe Artistic Approach?
Oh, maybe. It probably should also go under like best new series entry. So I feel like it's a great new Kirby game.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah.
Those are ones that I'll talk about for sure. Stanley Parable, I might talk about for like story.
Stanley Parable is a really good story.
Well, and some of the stuff that they added with like the ultimate whatever.
Yeah, cool. Which I still need to play, but I haven't been able to buy it yet. I really want to play it.
You can get a little bit spoiled, probably.
That's fine.
Yeah. So, there's that. I don't even know. I mean, I wish there was a place for me to talk about Inscription somewhere on these categories. Like, obviously,
that's why I look at. There's like so many things. Like, I would like to talk about like best action game or best role playing game or something like that. But we don't have those categories. So like that kind of sucks because like best action game easily TMNT would be up there. So would God of War. So with many other things, and that's just not an option this year for some reason.
We did that first year, if I remember. Like we tried the categories, and I don't remember why we didn't like them. We just didn't do them again.
Yeah, I don't.
There was a reason. I think it was because certain categories we just didn't have like anything in it all, and then some got so top heavy that it was just ridiculous. So that's kind of why we tried out the different categories to kind of parse what made each game like good on its own.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like if we were doing like our longer, like more substantial game of the year, like categories, Inscription would find something somewhere.
Well, I mean, maybe it could hit best story.
No.
I don't best think surprise. Artistic approach.
Maybe artistic approach. I feel like honestly, like it should be somewhere like if we had something like a best gameplay hook, like that would be really like where it would shine. Well, that's what it needs.
Just best gameplay. It's like, yeah, I can't put God of War there because it's essentially a fucking movie.
Yeah, and this game always has something that surprises me. Like every time, like I still feel like
that's why I'm saying biggest surprise, best surprise.
Well, maybe. But it's just like I found out what the purpose of the ringworm was the other day. I didn't even realize as much as I played through the game. But now I know. I thought it was just a dumb card, and it actually is like a purpose. And so yeah, it changes everything. Who knew? Who knew?
There you go. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of the games that are going to be in my top 10 list, I can't put in any of these lists. So you guys are gonna be pushing most of this list, and I'll be there for the top 10.
I don't. You just put a ton of things down on these. I mean, maybe they're not things from your top 10, but
I mean, I mostly put things in that are like best soundtrack because they're like I've heard this music, and also this music is one where I can literally just be like, "Hey, listen to this song," and then you can be like, "Yeah, that's really fucking good." Like even if you haven't played the game, you can like listen to a handful of songs from it and be like, "Yeah, that's really fucking good." Essentially, so that's why I put a lot in best music category because I think that's like one of the easiest ones to talk about without playing through the entire game, essentially.
yeah. The only thing is, it's the same thing I said last week when we talked about it. I don't even remember if it was. It might have been off podcast. I don't remember if it was during the episode. But it was just like the tricky thing with best soundtrack, and you kind of run into this issue with some of the other things too, like best story or best story moment. Is like I feel like some of the driving force for best soundtrack is what's going on with the music, and that's hard to convey. So it's like Rivers in the Desert, like for Persona 5, I would say is like an incredible song. I don't know if I had heard it on its own without the context of the game, if I would feel the same way about it.
That's fair. Yeah, that does make sense. I think a lot of the ones I picked are just like absolute bangers and you don't need context. Like Shredder's Revenge. Like it's an arcade beat 'em up. There you go. Sonic Frontiers. I do think that the boss music that I would definitely play would be something that would, because like if I was going to pick anything, it would probably be Undefeatable from the boss, which I'm actually just going to link you that right now real quick. Ah, fuck. Why did it not Control V? Oh, because my control key's not working. There we go. This should work. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, having the boss moment when this, like, kicks in actually makes it kind of... I guess it kind of works in the video, too, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, no. It's a boss music, and it's really cool. But, yeah.
Yeah, and that's always the tricky thing. Because, I mean, like, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like, a lot of the music there is fantastic. But a lot of it's also, like, got that emotional charge with it, too. Where it's like, it's going to depend on the moment. I know what song I'm going to put for it already. And I think it stands well enough on its own that it should just do what I need to do. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard some Xenoblade songs, right, from Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because they've been, like, thrown around a lot for Game of the Year this year, especially when, like, the Game of the Year, like, show was coming up and everything. And I was just like, this music's fucking incredible. Like, it seems like one that would be pretty easy to be like, yeah, listen to this. So.
Yeah, I know. What song is it? Where is it? I'll tell you which song it is. Yeah, there it is. Let me find a link for you. This one probably should be. Yeah, there it is.
You know what? I think the song that the album that I would go to bat for the most this year is probably Neon White. Like, I love Metal Hellsinger and everything, but I think Neon White would be the easiest way to like be like, yeah, listen to this. This shit's good. See, this just starts and it's instantly good.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic song. And just as you keep going, it just keeps us like amping up.
I wish I could have experienced this game.
You still can.
I can't. I have no money.
I mean, you will eventually someday, and it will always cost $60.
That's true.
Yeah, you never. I know you didn't beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah.
But this game is incredible. I just absolutely enjoyed it, and actually, it's probably another one I probably should think about for story beats too, when we talk about best story. Hopefully I can remember enough of it to talk about. Oh, I did put it on their list already. Because it's wild, and I really just kind of want to like tell you guys like how it kind of hooks in with Xenoblade 1 and 2.
That is really good. I'm just going to post this for you. So this is the full fucking soundtrack from start to finish of Neon White. You really don't need any context. Just this soundtrack is really fucking good. So you can just listen to the whole thing in your own free time. And I would absolutely recommend doing so. Man, Machine Girl did a fucking excellent job with all this music. And like I'm listening to this song and I'm like, hell yeah, I remember this like stage or like series of stages now. And like it doesn't matter for this game, for Neon White, if you've like played it or not, because it is a speed running card game first person shooter. So like, you don't really need context.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's always great too when you have those songs like that where it's just like I know exactly what this is,
Mm-hmm.
like where it is, like what I was doing, playing.
Mm-hmm.
Because some songs I don't know, like pretty much all the songs with like Mario 64 like resonate some like
Yeah,
stage with me.
definitely.
Like those ones always like do a great job with that kind of stuff. Some other ones, some games do, some games don't. It all depends, I guess. Some games just have, I don't know, better music than games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think we did listen to some of the Neon White stuff before too. It sounds familiar.
Possibly.
Oh yeah, let's look at that. I don't know, but I mean, I think those, at least the things I talked about, I think those are the big things that I'll kind of bring
Yeah,
up on Game of the Year.
same for me essentially. I did add something to most anticipated with Resident Evil 4 remake because again, I'm still very excited for that. I really
I
hope they don't
cannot.
drop the ball.
I was thinking about it today. I was like, I
I know.
cannot wait
Uh-huh.
until March
Mm-hmm.
when I'm proven right.
I don't think you will be. I think they've had a really good track record lately. I don't think they've dropped the ball aside from their live service game, which was a free pack-in essentially with their other game. Village was really fucking good. 2 remake was really good. 3 was good, but it should have been part of 2's remake. It shouldn't have been a split up game. Like I really do think they are on the trail right now to just make absolute hit after hit with Resident Evil games. I mean, like I even played Resident Evil 4 VR, and Resident Evil 4 VR is really good also. So I don't think, and I'm hoping I'm right. I'm hoping I'm right. I don't think it will be anything short of incredible. So
I hope not. I mean, Resident Evil 4, I think my thing was, like I said before, and I hope I articulated it well last time. Like, I think my thing is Resident Evil 4 is such a good game that it will be easy for them to fuck it up.
I do agree, but I think it would be even easier for them to make it better. I
Like
really do, because like if you look at it, like what they've done to improve on Resident Evil games, what they did to improve on Resident Evil 2, for instance, they made so many quality of life changes with Resident Evil 2 that it was just fucking incredible. They made so many quality of life changes going forward with Resident Evil Village that it was just a fucking absolutely incredible game. And I really do think that we are at that point where if they take what they've learned from those 2 specifically, that it'll be very easy for them to make an absolutely like insanely good game.
I mean, that's what you think. I mean, it should be, but then it just takes one person with some like misgiven idea to like.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. You're not
it's
wrong,
like,
and I really hope that person has been fired and they haven't been on, and they didn't get rehired. That's really what I'm hoping right now. Because if you look at what they've put out so far, that person is not working there right now.
Well, I was just saying, I wasn't talking about anyone specific. I was just saying in general. Like, because I mean, like, if you want to look at it like a different series, like you think about something like Ocarina of Time 3D is definitely the definitive edition of that game. Like, it is arguably better in every way, shape, and form from the original.
Yeah.
But then you look at Majora's Mask 3D, where it's questionable if it's even better.
Yeah, that is true.
Because they took some things that didn't need changing, and they thought they needed to be changed, and they didn't, and they didn't make them better. So,
and then I think Wind Waker's HD version was also really good. So
HD Wind Waker was good. I don't think they messed up anything there. I think arguably all the quality of life stuff they added was an improvement. Actually, even with Wind Waker, I think was arguably better in every way, shape, and form. Twilight Princess was arguably better in every way, shape, and form. And Skyward Sword was arguably better in every way, shape, and form. But for some reason, they fucked up Majora's Mask. Which
maybe it was just like not enough time to do or whatever.
Well, you remember what the issue with Majora's Mask was, right?
No, I don't remember.
Oh, so Majora's Mask, they in the 3DS one, they made it so that you needed magic to do the swimming Zora ship.
Oh my god, okay.
So like if you wanted to like do like this fast swim and like glide and like the spins and everything, like you would have magic It was not required originally. You could just swim great all the time. And this one they switched it. So that was not there like that anymore.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that was a really big thing that just got people kind of upset because it does functionally change an entire dungeon, basically. Because now you have to deal with resource management that you didn't have to deal with before. It makes things a little bit more difficult. And that boss too. And it did tweak some of the boss things, arguably not for the better. There's one more thing that they did too that got people bent out of shape, and I can't remember what it is right now.
Okay.
But the swimming was the big thing. And that's because that swimming thing was a pretty big hit against the game. Because the swimming before was perfect, and they changed it so it was not anymore.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it sucks.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things. Like someone was just like, "Oh, I think we need to fix this," and it didn't need to be fixed. And arguably, like I said, it just made it kind of so it was weird. So, but who knows? Maybe nobody like that on Resident Evil.
We can hope.
They will.
I'm hoping.
We'll see. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
None particular. No.
Okay. I mean, I think we did all our big points.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. You ready to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Well then. Thank you everyone for listening to us tonight. Don't forget to find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, game-crunch.com. If you want to reach out to us, we're on Facebook, Twitter. You can send us an email, gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon.
Hello.
Any final thoughts?
Nope. I got nothing.
All right. Well, that said, my name is Mike Anastasia. You can find me online at Fletch Penguin. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
Just some side not podcast things I wanted to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
I watched 2 movies.
Okay.
This week.
All right.
One of them I know you saw. I watched Terrifier 2 last night.
Oh, I loved that movie.
It was good. I watched the whole movie and I'm like, why did people leave the theaters for this?
I was thinking the same fucking thing. I was like, why?
Yeah, I like this is it's like 90s gore.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. I feel like I've seen gorier movies.
I feel like the first one was.
I feel like Saw was like a worse movie to watch than this.
Maybe.
I just in terms of like stuff that might make some people like uneasy.
Yeah. I think it's the fact that it was much more realistic. Think of
all
Saw,
the practical effects.
Yeah.
He did a great job. I guess that movie
absolutely.
The budget was only $250,000.
I know. It was incredible what they were able to do with that.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. And even too, the actors and stuff that they had in there, I thought they held themselves pretty well.
Yeah, me too.
Just by being,
they didn't feel like generic horror movie people. They felt like actual people. Especially, I mean, the first movie also felt that way. But yeah, I thought it felt like a more realistic horror film. Except for the whole, he came back to life from the dead, that sort of thing. But the way people reacted felt more believable.
Yeah,
serial killer. Yeah, that was fucking weird. But I mean, that was just Chris Jericho being like, let's do something weird. And the person being like, yeah, let's do that. Because if you notice, the guy who was at the end that was taking the call, with the lady and everything, the people that were on call that night at the psych ward or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was the wrestler Chris Jericho.
Oh no, did not notice.
Yeah, that was Chris Jericho from like the early 2000s and everything, and now modern day, obviously. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. He
Yeah.
really likes horror movies, so like he gets in as many horror films as he possibly can.
Oh, and actually, what's really wild too?
Hmm.
So we were watching with my friend,
Hmm.
and like we get to the part where they're in that like Halloween store,
Oh, yeah, that was
and
such a good scene.
well,
I
no, get
love
this,
that Halloween
get this.
store. What?
She gets to that part, and she's like, "That's my uncle's Halloween store," and we're like, "What?"
What?
Yeah. She's like, "That's my uncle's Halloween store," and we're like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Yeah, that's Abracadabra in New York City," and we're like, "What are you talking about?" And then like as you're watching the scene, you can actually see like the logos like on their shirt, like it says Abracadabra, like New York City on it. Like I guess her uncle owned that store
Hmm.
and sold it to his half brother. So it's
Oh, okay.
like it's I don't know, or a half uncle or whatever owns it now. But she's like, we had gotten props from her when we did her haunted house. Like we had this like creepy thing in this like
Hmm.
coffin, and then there's like these skeletons and these like crawly things with like intestines hanging out. And she's like, yeah, those are all from his store. He's like, those they literally came from that place where this movie was made. I was like, no fucking way. She's like, yeah. It's like I'm like, you gotta text them and be like, hey, your movie's in your store's in this movie.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I was like, that's really cool. And that whole scene was awesome too. And it
Yeah,
looks like a
right.
really cool store. Yeah.
I
But when she's
absolutely love that scene. Like, especially like when she just looks over him and he's honking the horn in her face.
it reminded me so much of that scene in like It, like the
Yeah, where he's like,
1998.
on the balcony. Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
And we were all
Yeah.
like, we were like, is she the only one who sees them? And then eventually the guy was
No,
like, can you stop?
no, that's what I was thinking too. And then like when that happened, I was like, this is just something they deal with all the time, and they're just like, whatever.
Yeah, no, that whole thing was great. I was like, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun for a movie, like a horror movie. And the other one I watched, which I don't know if you've seen or not, I have not heard you talk about it, so you might not have yet. We watched Violent Night.
I have that. My computer messed up and I was going to watch it and then we didn't watch it. But that is the next one I'm watching. So I would like to know, did you like it without spoiling anything?
Yeah, I would say so. I thought the middle was a little bit slow. I think that was my only complaint. But I think they did like the whole Santa angle like really cool. Like, because I mean, you could see it in the previews. Like, obviously, like they're using like his Santa powers or whatever. I think they use them in some really creative ways, and some of them really surprised me. So I think you'll appreciate what they do with them.
That's awesome.
I think the acting is like just like the perfect level of like cheesiness. Like it kind of rides that line. A lot like what was that really good Christmas like
Krampus?
Not it had Krampus in it, but it was not Krampus.
Oh,
it had William Shatner in it, and it was kind of like an anthology movie.
Oh,
and I remember the big twist was like because it had like that badass fighting Santa, and then at the end you realize it's just like a deranged man in like a mall.
Christmas Horror Story? No,
yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. That sounds right.
I don't remember this, but I kind of do.
I remember when I watched it a couple of years ago, like I just really needed like some like cheesy horror movie, and it was like absolutely perfect for what I needed. Like it really just hit like well on every note.
2015. This looks about right. I think I've seen this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen this.
I think we've talked about it before, honestly.
Yeah.
But it kind of gave me kind of the same vibe as that, just overall. Like it just had the right amount of cheesiness. It pulls enough like things from other movies that I think work really well. Like there's some like Home Alone references in there that just like
that's what I watched on Christmas.
Oh, did you?
Home Alone. Yeah.
I think you'll appreciate what they did with some of it because there's like a couple scenes where they do like you could tell it's clearly a Home Alone like reference, but it doesn't go the way I expected it to. But it was better.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think you'll like it.
Well, I look forward to watching it.